Ready.
Welcome to episode 44 of the Go Get 'em Agility podcast. My name is Margaret Hughes, and I'm your host, along with my daughter, Emma. Hi, Emma.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
We are talking about Eli and what I did when I took him to his first trial. So, a little background. Next weekend, I am working the trial. And when you work a trial, you're given, in some clubs, they give you free runs, and you won't let me run your dog. And so I decided, well, let's put Eli in a competition environment and see what happens.
Yeah.
He's ready. I mean, he's doing doing very well, and he's not ready for standard. I'm not done with his contacts yet for sure, and there's still a lot to learn. So I know that it's a learning experience rather than a official trialing experience, if you will. But so I'm working next weekend, but and again, I'm getting free runs. And so since you won't let me run your dog, I decided to go ahead and enter Eli. And the second that I did that, I thought, I don't want to be working on his very first time in a competition arena.
I think
And
that's a good thought.
yeah, so I thought, all right, enter the trial the week before.
Yeah,
and so
well, yeah, okay, yeah.
and so that's what I did. So I entered one day, Friday. That was a couple days ago. I entered on Friday. I entered 3 runs because I wanted to do 2 FEO runs. And I did an AKC trial. So in AKC currently at the moment you can only do training in the ring in their fast class and in their time to beat class. FEO means for exhibition only, which basically means you're training in the ring. You can do whatever you want in the ring.
Yeah, you can bring in a toy, but not treats. Correct?
Correct. For AKC.
Yes.
Yes. Um, and you're supposed to announce it. The rule is that you're supposed to announce it before you start training so the judge can relax and not worry. The scorekeepers don't have to keep score. If you pull out a toy halfway through what looks like a real run, the judge gets kind of annoyed, or they can get kind of annoyed. So it's best to declare that you're training right from the get go. You have to take in a toy that doesn't leave your hand, that doesn't have a squeaker. Basically, it can't bug the other ring or any dogs in the area. And you can do the equipment in any order. You can keep your dog on leash the entire time if you wanted to. You just can't put them over obstacles if you do that. But you can do all flat work on leash, and you can go anywhere in the ring. You can touch the equipment. You can reset bars, all of that. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to do that for several reasons. And I went back and forth because I know that he could have done the fast course. I know that I could have qualified him in fast, but I specifically chose not to because I wanted to make sure that we really were connected, and I wanted to make sure that he really was going to ignore the environment around him. We had a male judge, and male figures have in general been a little bit bigger of a trigger for his sudden environmental contrast than females. So we had a male judge the entire day. Um, and I wanted to get a taste of a feel for what his ring behavior was going to be on and off leash. So I want to talk about that.
I don't think I have much to add, seeing as I'm on the other side of the world. But I think, I've watched you guys grow as a team. I've watched your training. I think this is one of the first dogs that you've had while I've been alive, where I haven't had a ton of influence on it, right? So like when you had Tia, I was a really young kid, and so obviously when you're really young, you want to see the dog, and then the same with Jinx, and then all of our dogs really have been majorly influenced by me one way or another, me being a kid or me being an experimental agility trainer or whatever. And I think that it's really cool to see um, you, with your own knowledge and own skill set, with your own dog, um, and he's also your first dog as a trainer, right?
Yeah, yeah, he is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's
Right.
cool because I mean, you've learned a lot in the time. I mean, you've always been a dog trainer, but I mean, in the time since you've been back, that's
And
what, 8 years now?
yeah, an agility trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it focused on agility as opposed to just behavior.
Right, but I just mean like being in the dog world and being in, because I don't, but I know that what your students think of you means a lot to you, to us, to the company. And so it's really cool to see a dog that has a lot of pressure on his shoulders doing well.
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much that I mean, I do care how my students feel, but I also, it doesn't stop me if I feel that they don't aren't
Well,
aren't
yeah.
aren't in my boat.
Right.
Right? If
Right.
they're
But it's nice to be a dog trainer, right? And then be giving advice to people and people be giving you their money for this. And then you have a dog and you can say, well, hey, this is what I can do, right? This is what you are buying when you come to me for classes.
yeah.
He is an advertisement, basically. I mean, of course, a dog is more than that, but he's a good advertisement for Go Get 'em Agility.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Um Although that being said, you can be a really, really good coach, really good instructor, and not be a good handler.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I agree.
I have seen some that are just phenomenal agility handler coaches, but not so much agility dog trainers, right? So
Yeah,
they can read handling, but they don't necessarily know how to teach agility.
right.
I've seen that. All right, so let me talk about Eli's how I approached his first trial experience, my goals, my plan, and then what really happened. So I'm gonna kind of just go through a timeline. I think that might work best to give you an idea of just how my day went. So it was for Friday only. I had 3 runs planned, 2 FEO, and then my third run, novice jumpers with weaves, was I was gonna. My plan was to trial him for a Q if the FEOs went as planned, and so, but that was flexible. I was willing to go right into training mode for his jumpers with weaves class. All right, so my class started at 10. That was the scheduled time that the trial set out for 10 a.m. start time, first dog on the line. And so I arrived an hour prior, maybe a little bit over an hour prior, because I needed to get him measured.
Mm,
So I arrived, and the first thing that I did was I took him out for a little walk and into the off leash exercise area and allowed him to potty. And then I played ball with him. So, one of the things that I've been told, and I honestly have no stats to back this theory up. But one thing that I was told is that exercise prior to measuring can relax a dog. I don't know if that's true because,
I would imagine so.
well, play to him really arouses him. So, yes, it may make him a little tired, but I definitely don't know that it relaxes him. But anyway,
Well, it softens his muscles, doesn't it? I
yeah,
mean,
it
he's probably a little bit more
true.
loose and
Yeah, it warms them up
yeah,
a little bit, right?
yeah.
So I exercised him for maybe 8 minutes or so, just playing some moderate ball um, throws with him, more of a ball bounce. So he runs straight. I throw the ball in front of him. He catches it and keeps running. So he's a really good ball player in that form. Well, I'm going to pull that out.
Ball players are good. I quite like that term. I thought that was cute.
Ball player.
Yeah.
uh, then, oh, when I first got there, I offered him some water. I always offer him water right when I arrive. And then when we are done exercising, I offered him some more water and I put him in his crate and I went to the bathroom myself. So
Nice.
one of my MOs is to I always get to a trial and I always, well, I don't need to go there. I always take care of my own personal needs. then after that, I went inside and I got measuring forms. So the trial secretary has measuring forms that you can take back out to your car, fill out, and then bring back in with you when you get your dog measured. And because he's under 2 years old, I was doing a one time temporary height measurement. And we had trained this was a fun experience. So we had trained for measuring. I did a ton of stand stays with them. I taught him a hold your chin still cue or behavior. I taught him to watch a cookie on the floor in a stand stay. I did wicket measuring. Um, I use a hanger to a plastic hanger to
Like a clothes hanger.
yeah, like a clothes
Yeah.
hanger to practice, things just moving over his shoulder blades, pushing down on his shoulder blades or his withers. And he was doing great. I mean, his stand stay training, his measuring training, I'm like, yes, this is going to work great. Then let me tell you what really happened. I asked the judge if he had time to measure, and he said yes. And so he went and got the wicket. And normally in our area, they put the dogs up onto the pause table and then put the wicket on the pause table. Dog and wicket are together on the measuring table. So that's what I trained for. What really happened is he put the wicket on the floor and sat down next to it. And
Which is interesting. I have never seen or heard of that before. I feel like that's a really good way to get bit. If you have a nervous
well,
dog in front of you,
that was a little
oh
bit
boy.
my thought. And he
I
said,
mean,
okay,
Eli's not a biter, but
right. Eli has never shown any tendency to fear bite or anything like that. Um, but so he sat down on the floor next to the wicket and he said, okay, I want the dog facing me
oh goodness.
with his front legs basically right next to his leg. And I'm like straddling I'm almost straddling the judge's legs to help bring Eli in. And Eli's like, dude, you're way too close to me. I'm like, oh man. So he finally did hold for a stand stay. And then as soon as the wicket went over him, he said, I'm too close and the wicket. No way, I'm out. And he would back out of it. Then he'd come forward again. Then he'd back out of it. Then he'd come forward again. And it was this back and forth like, oh my gosh, I thought I trained this. I obviously didn't train it for this scenario. And anyway, he held a chin hold just long enough for the judge to get a measurement on him. And then that was it. So we only have to do that once until he's 2 years old, and then we'll have to do it twice. That one I can't remember if the temporary measurement holds as one measurement or if he then needs two more when he's two. But anyway, I'll figure out that rule when I get there. Um, so my home measurement was 17 inches, and the judge's measurement was 17 and a quarter. So I was close. So that was
Eli might
good.
have been stressed as well due to, they kind of hunch up their shoulders when they're a little bit worried.
That was just it.
Um,
I couldn't put him in the nice stack that I normally
I have a
have.
question for you actually. When you were measuring Eli at home, did you have food on the floor?
No,
Okay. Did you ever have him facing with his head down, facing down to the floor?
maybe once or twice, but no.
Because I
Was
remember
I
getting Millie measured in Luxembourg, and I knelt down on the floor. They put her on a table, and so I sat down below her. And they said, They said, nope, you are lowering your dog's shoulders when you're making him look down at the floor. They said, stand up, have your dog with her chin parallel to the ground.
yeah, that's how I would do it. I'd have his nose level.
Okay, I'm wondering if that would, that might be the difference. Never mind. He's probably just nervous then.
Well, no, I think it's a true measurement. I think
Yeah.
I'm just,
Okay.
I'm using my hand to measure him.
You're
You
using
know,
the side of the kitchen counter.
yeah, that's exactly what I do. So I lure him next to the wall, put my
Yeah.
hand on his withers, leave my hand on the wall, put a little piece of tape there, and then I go get a
Yeah.
tape
I
measure.
think 17.5 is a good measurement to have. I mean,
No,
we knew he was going to be around there. Oh,
17.
17.25. Gosh, yeah. That's a good measurement to have. We knew he was going to be around that height, and
Yeah.
he
No,
stayed,
I'm
he
happy with
stayed
that
there.
height.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that height. All right. So I got him measured. Then I took him out, offered him more water. probably another potty. I can't remember at that point. And then I put him back in his crate. And around that time, they were walking my first class, which was fast. And so I went back in and I walked a potential pattern. So I knew that I had certain ideas that I wanted to work on. The only two things there were several things that I wanted to see how he reacted. So my first one was he confident coming into the ring? And was he worried? Was he backing up? Was the tail down? Was he stressing? Was he sniffing? So what did he do when he initially came into the arena? Then I wanted to see how he reacted to the ring crew. So the leash runner, scribe, and the male judge and any other bar setters. I didn't take notice the whether or not I had male or female ring crew, because I was more focused on the judge being out in the arena with us.
Yeah.
Um, and he was initially, so I remember walking past him, and then he may have gone and had a little break. But uh, so I wanted to see his confidence. I wanted to see how he reacted to the ring crew. I wanted to know, was he sniffing? Was he paying attention to the environment, the noises, the buzzer, the
Did they
the
use the
go.
go?
Yep,
Yeah,
the
okay.
go or the ready sound. And then I wanted to see, would he move with me at the start line. So I brought him in. They said go, and I immediately put him onto a tug to just get him knowing that there's a reward in here for you. Stick with me. And he immediately went onto the tug. So that was another thing. Was he stressed to the point where he wouldn't tug, or was he
Oh,
willing to
yeah.
tug? And he was willing to tug, which was good. And so I released him off the tug, put him into a sit stay with his leash on, dropped the leash, and asked him to come to me about, I think I stepped away backwards. So when I step away from him, I always keep my chest towards him and step backwards away from him. So now I'm inviting him to come into me, as opposed to turning my back on him like a sit stay start line. So this is information of, can he move with me in a certain space? And so I knew that both of us facing each other was the easiest for him. So I went ahead and did that. He did a great sit stay. He stayed focused on me. He held, I asked him to hold it for maybe 5 seconds. It wasn't very long. Released him to me onto the tug. And at that point, I went ahead and took his leash off. I can't remember if he was still holding the tug or not, but he had a harness on. So I took his harness off and just immediately dropped the harness right where he was. Moved him just off of the harness a little bit, put him into a sit stay, and then asked him to take one jump back towards me. So a little wing wrap back towards me onto the tug again. And he was
Good.
all in. He did that beautifully. He didn't look around. He didn't hesitate. He jumped and wrapped the wing exactly how I intended him. And so I kept him on the tug and I walked him about halfway across the arena to about 4 or 5 line of jumps that was in a gentle arc going towards the teeter and the weave poles. So the teeter and the weave poles were the two obstacles that I wanted to see and introduce him to in a trial environment. So I took my tug, took him over to a nice arc of jumps, and put him into a sit stay, let out about 15 feet or so, released him on this line of jumps, which he did beautifully. And then I asked him to weave. He couldn't get the entrance. It was a tough entrance, but more than I think he could have gotten the entrance if we were in our home arena. And in fact, I know he could have gotten the entrance if we were in our home arena. But it was in the back corner, and so I think that he was just slightly distracted by whatever, by the environment, or he just couldn't get the weave entrance in that context with that amount of speed, whatever. And right at that time, as he bypassed the weave poles, the buzzer went. So I just
Ooh,
recalled him. I recalled him back to me, put him onto the tug, and took him out. What shocked me a little bit is the time was super fast. So
for an FEO run?
well, for me, just
I don't
for
understand.
my
Wait, okay, so
mental, for my,
are
so
you?
I'm pretty dang good at judging time. I'm
Yeah, you
pretty
are.
dang good at judging time, and to me, it felt like, wow, that only felt like 30 seconds.
Oh, I
And
see what you're saying.
yeah,
Okay.
and so as I'm going back, I'm like, was that my full time for FEO? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, all right, which I think is 90 seconds. So I think it's 90
Wow.
seconds that you're allowed, but it could be 60 seconds. Anyway, it felt very fast to me. And so as I'm walking back, I'm talking to the ring crew, which is also a trigger for him to um, to do a little sudden environmental stuff on the people talking back to me, and he didn't react at all, which was awesome.
Good.
Absolutely
Was
love it.
he on leash at this point?
No, he was just on his tug. He was on
Okay.
his tug. We were walking back towards his leash. I got him back on his harness. We exited, and we exited right into a family. And I was really, really proud of recognizing who was immediately outside the exit gate and keeping him in attention on me instead of just dashing out for my cookies and not paying attention to who we were running into. And so, not that he has a problem with families, but I didn't want to get tangled up in the leash. Right.
Sure.
So I kept him close to me so that he wasn't shooting out and tripping up little kids and wrapping legs around his leash. So just paying attention in that moment, I was really happy with how I responded, and keeping him in a little bit of a tighter heel position rather than just letting him dash out the door, which I see a ton of people do with their dogs, trying to get to the treat table, right? So it makes sense, but it's also can be very dangerous. Um, what else? All right, so that was our FEO run. After that was our fast FEO run. Um, I immediately took him. So my MO every single time I run a run, my MO is to go to my treats or my toy, which I have stashed in various parts of the competition area.
You're
And so
like a super spy. You're
I
just like
am.
always, there's a stash everywhere.
There is. I had one,
Yeah.
two, three. I had three stashes for one ring. I did. I did.
That's so
Um,
fun.
And so I got him to his treats, rewarded him, took a fistful of treats, put them in my pocket. And so then what I do is I always do a cool down walk. So I walk the entire perimeter of the facility for the most part. It's a pretty big place, but I walk a big perimeter walk. And during that time, he pottied again almost immediately, but then he pooped almost immediately as well. So I was
Mm.
really, really proud of him for not pooping in the ring because
Good boy.
there was a
Yeah.
there was a poop in him. Uh, and remind me to talk about the cell phone effect when it comes to pottying your dog.
Oh, I love that. That's like the water drinking effect as well
Yeah,
when you talk to somebody.
right. Okay, so then what did I do? Then I took him. Oh, so when I'm doing my cool down walk, I always make my cool down walk past my car once for another water drink, and then I continue the walk. So I don't want my dog to think that we're going straight from agility right into their crate. So
Yeah.
I always bypass my car, check in with the water dish, and pick up any more treats that I may want or a different toy or whatever. And then I continue my cool down walk as well. And I also get myself a drink of water at that time. So I did that, finished our cool down walk, finished our water, and then went back, crated him up. He's crating out of my car, crated him up, and I went back inside because I knew that they would be walking the next class that I was in within the next 10 minutes. So, or 15 minutes. So, and I was right. I walked back in. They were just about to walk time to beat. And so I figured out strategically where I wanted to be. So now that I worked his start line, I worked his focus with the environment, had no issues. Oh, the other one that had gotten him in the past, which did not phase him at all this time, was floating heads. So people who are over the wall barrier watching, he would look up at them and go like, "Oh my gosh, there's a floating head. What is that about?" And he'd just give a little bit of a woof every from time to time. So that one was pretty random, but he didn't do that at all. All right, so then I'm walking time to beat. So because I did my start line stay and my environmental stuff in the first FEO run, the second FEO run, I wanted to go straight to the equipment. So I just want to back up a little bit and talk about how fast that time was, how fast it felt in my head, and how fast it was in reality. Uh, this was my very first time doing FEO. So every other dog that I've put out there for their first trial, there's never been FEO possible. That's how long ago I trialed. I mean, it was what, 11 years since Jinx.
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't even available for Dot though. Dot was 6 years.
Right.
So I think it's only like a 2 or 3 year old thing, right?
No, no. Let's see. No, it's been around for a little bit longer than that, I think.
Go
Yeah,
to
I don't know when
dinner.
they brought FEO in. It might have been around with Dot, but certainly
I don't think so.
wasn't as I didn't know as much about it as I do today.
Right.
All right, so because was not used to it, and I figured out how fast the time goes. On my second round, I went immediately to my obstacles that I wanted to focus on, which was the teeter and the weep pulls. And I went to those because my dog walk, well, there was no dog walk, but my dog walk and my A frame are not fully trained. So there was an A frame in the time to beat and the fast class. And I was not going to put him up either one of those, even though um, they would be an easy contact for him to work. So I went ahead and went with the teeter because I wanted to make sure that he was introduced to a new teeter in a new environment. And so I went straight there. And as I'm going to the teeter, I kept him in a bypass queue. So that means stay by my side. So a close queue, stay by my side, walk with me, stay in handler focus, don't look at any obstacles, and just wait for more instruction, essentially. And as I'm doing that, we bypassed the judge. He took no notice of the judge. And I immediately put him into a sit stay about 8 feet off the end of the teeter. And I have a very specific pattern that I like to do when introducing a new teeter. And so I put him 8 feet off the end of the teeter, went to the end, recalled him, or not recalled him, released him with his teeter cue. He immediately grabbed it, looked absolutely comfortable, happy to be on there. His criteria for where he wasn't exactly what I wanted, but I wasn't worried about that at the time. I was just worried about his confidence level. And so I immediately rewarded him with a tunnel send, which he loves tunnels, and then attempted a very difficult weave entrance, which he got the
Nice.
entrance. He got the entrance, but he didn't stay in the pulse. So I rewarded him with personal play. So personal play is another thing that I can take into the ring with me. So I did some personal play with him, which
Tell us what personal play is
uh,
specifically.
kind of like roughhousing,
Yeah.
like pushing him back with my hands, telling him to jump up at me and get excited playing with me with no toys involved. So there's lots of different ways to do personal play, but his most favorite is jumping up at me and me pushing him back, uh, which immediately aroused him, and he actually got a little too aroused, and he actually came up and muzzle punched my face. I'm like, all right, dude, let's take that back down a notch.
That
Um,
hurt.
right, you can hear him. You can hear him barking at me. He does this kind of high pitched squeal when he's
It's very cute.
when he's that excited. So then I set him back up to do the teeter again, and this time I sent him to the backside of a jump to add in a little speed, and did the same pattern out again. So teeter, immediate release to the tunnel, And then I tried the weave pull entrance again just to see if I could get a little bit better timing on my handling, and he nailed it. I was so proud of him. So we did a little. I have a collection cue that when he's converging on me, it's hey hey. That means add a stride in, collect, and that gave him just enough time to get the weave pull entrance. And then I took him out on that same arc of jumps that I did in fast, just the reverse of it towards the exit gate. All right, here's one thing that I did not uh, plan well. So on right when he got off that last jump, as I'm getting his harness and getting his harness on, I pulled out my toy and I started rewarding him. So I just gave it to him while I was trying to get the harness on. So
Oh dear.
he's playing with the toy by himself, or I have it in my hand because you're not allowed to let go of it. But he's essentially tugging by himself, and I'm trying to get the harness on. That did not go well. I could not get the harness buckled. That wasn't, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm taking forever here. I literally probably took, I don't know, 15 seconds to get my
Oof,
harness to get my harness clipped up. I
that's a
almost
little
left with it
funny.
just over his neck, but I'm like,
Oh
nope,
golly.
nope. If he gets out, I'm in trouble. So I stood there messing. He has a toy in his mouth. I'm trying to get this, and it's an easy buckle to get to. So all you have to do is get it close, and it magnetic shuts. I couldn't get it close. So anyway, that was a bad idea. So I decided to go ahead and go just with my regular leash martingale collar, which I can get on very, very quickly. And
You
he really,
lasso him with that one.
oh no, he's so fast at putting his nose through that. It was great. So,
He lassos himself.
all right, can we
What was your reasoning with the harness? Was there any specific reason that you chose the harness
well, I'm
for a trial? Just because we're not really harness people, are we?
true. I've been using the harness for the month, last month and a
Hmm.
half. So I wanted to put him back. He started in a harness, and I've wanted to put him back into a harness, mainly because when he does get excited, he does pull a little bit, and I didn't want to put any pressure on his neck.
Okay.
And so I've all of his walks now are with a harness, and he
Okay.
doesn't pull. I mean, he's not a puller at all. He's very, very good on the leash, but every once in a while he gets a little bit excited and he pulls, and it's just enough. I've had him cough just enough when he's pulling that
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
want to cause any damage. So my thought is just harness him up. But me and the harness and the trial
Yeah.
experience, I need to work on that.
Maybe your shaking hands caused more damage
I was so
psychologically
well, I was
than.
so excited with how well he did that yeah, there was probably part of that.
Did you write all this down? Is that why you're so like methodical about the whole thing?
I never not only wrote it down, I audio taped myself.
Because I was wondering, because you're very like, you're very specific about everything, and I was like, how would you remember that? I see now.
Well, I guess I just wanted to recount my experience in hopes that it might help somebody else.
Mm, mm-hmm,
People are
mm-hmm.
always asking me, what time should I get there? What do I do first? So I just thought maybe this would be good for somebody.
Right.
Yeah. And I kind of wanted to remember it. And I'm very fast at forgetting things like this. And so I wanted to document it for myself, I guess. So, what is the definition of debut?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Do you have it on? Are you quizzing me right now?
No, I mean
I would say to
person's first appearance or
yeah,
performance,
I was gonna say to show off something new.
capacity, or role. Performance in public for the first time.
Yeah,
See, I didn't really think of this as his debut. I thought it,
I didn't.
yeah, I thought of it more as a fact finding mission.
Well, only because you've that's fun. Only because you've done so much practice beforehand. So like you've done seminars,
Yeah.
you've done classes. And so I think he was well prepared. I know that you were very nervous about this. You texted me at like 2 in the morning your time. You're like, Emma, I'm so scared. Okay, well, you didn't say that specifically, but you said I'm really nervous. And it was very strange for me because I think I really, really, really And this is the first dog I've had, like I said, where I have no skin in the game. So I was like, well, why would you be nervous? Like he'll be fine. I'm not nervous. I know he'll be fine. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that, and nervous is not really the right word. That's not really
You weren't nervous
well, I
before?
was. Yeah, no, I thought about it a lot. So is anxiety and nervous the same thing?
I think so. Well, it depends on the kind, but yeah.
Because he, so he's been really, really good lately. I mean, like he's all the stuff that I dealt with early on with the sudden environmental contrast stuff has really, really gone to the wayside now. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's purely based on all of the training that we've done, right? I really think that if I hadn't addressed it, I think it would have gotten worse.
Yeah, you really cracked down on
I
that
was
for
But I was
sure.
on it almost immediately,
Oh, yeah.
and the response that I saw from him, the way that I attacked it, worked almost out of the gate. Everything that I
Yeah.
tried was working.
Well, that's also where your behavioralist side comes in as well. You had the tools to combat that, and it worked, you know?
Well, I didn't necessarily have yes and no. I had the tools, but I actually used other people's ideas. And so
Right, but you knew how to execute
a
these
lot is
ideas.
yeah, but a lot has changed since I was doing behavior back in back in the day. And so I really liked the protocol that I followed, but and it
Yeah,
worked. So I
it
just
works. Yeah, for sure.
one thing that I don't know if I mentioned this or not, so I'm going to repeat it if I didn't already mention it. But when I went into the FEO fast run for the very first time, the first thing I said to him is look around. And
That's your cue, isn't it?
yeah, that's my cue to you're going to see stuff. There's people in here, potentially dogs, right? I mean, that's my look around includes dogs, people, weird things, just weird stuff. Anything that I think may set him off, I tell him to look around, find it, and look back at me. And he looked around, he looked right back at me, he said, okay, cool, let's do this.
Yeah,
So I immediately that protocol that I had in place for the last few months, 6, 7 months, has really played nicely right into the agility arena.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, and I was nervous, I was anxious, I was worried, I was thinking a lot because of the explosive behavior that he showed all those months ago. Uh,
yeah,
and yet I knew that our training was good. And so
yeah.
part of me was like, yeah, we can try this. I didn't feel completely out of my depths, but I also, it was a little bit of an unknown. We had never been with other, in a trial. We'd just never been in a trial.
Yeah. I think specifically, one of the worrying things for me that I was like, oh, was the fact that there was going to be a judge in the ring. And I know that you've done seminars and such with people in the ring, but it's different when because judges kind of have a look, and they look very intently at you. So I was a little worried about the judge thing, and I was very pleased to hear that he didn't really care.
Yeah, they're watching you and they follow you, right?
Yeah.
They do their little judge's path. And so if you go into their judge's path, you're going to bring your dog right into
Yeah.
the judge path.
Are you worried about the table at all? I know that they're getting rid of Have they already gotten rid of it, or are they getting rid of it?
No, they're talking about, I didn't
Okay,
really,
anyway, but that's beside the point. My point being though, are you worried at all about the table where the judge will be right on your back, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
that was my next comment is,
Okay.
so yeah, I'm definitely, that is an unknown still, how he'll react to somebody counting down for me. And also, when we did do the fast, he wasn't, because I wasn't running, he wasn't talking the numbers out. You know how they tell the points to the scribe?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
So the next FEO that I do, I am going to ask him to call numbers
Yeah.
to get a feel for, does he listen to that? Does he pay attention to it? One thing that did happen when I was walking into do the teeter is the handler in the other arena yelled teeter really, really loud and like teeter. And I'm like, whoa.
like her dog was going to miss it, right? So she was yelling teeter, or I don't know what's going on over there. Anyway, he had zero. He didn't even seem to notice it.
Good.
If he did notice it, he didn't show it any indication. All right, one thing that I forgot to mention that happened before my very first run while we were waiting is I had a hair malfunction. My hair
You
clip,
personally?
me personally. So we're
Oh,
waiting, we're off to the side, we're all kind of by, I put ourselves in a little corner so that we weren't being bugged by other dogs or other people. And he was messing with his toy at times. I was feeding him at times. And all of a sudden, I reached up because my bangs were bugging me and I wanted to reclip my bangs up out of my face. So I went to take my hair clip out of my hair and it was snagged.
oh
And I'm like,
no.
oh my gosh. And I'm trying to pull it out. So it's halfway out, right? And it's stuck. And
Oh my
I'm like
God.
panicking. I'm like, do I just rip my hair out? Do I
Right.
do I try and pull it out gently? What do I do? What do I do? So I had to drop his leash. I stepped on his leash. He's on the tug and I'm trying to mess with my hair. I'm taking my hairband out. When I run agility, my hair is up, right? It is out of my
Yeah.
face. It is up. I I'm always my hair is always back. And I started to panic. I'm like, Margaret,
Oh no.
don't panic. You have plenty of time. At the last second, you can rip your hair out. It's okay.
Yeah, no worries.
There's no,
Eli's like, what's going on,
yeah,
Mom?
there's no panicking in agility.
Yeah, no panicking allowed.
Right? Anyway, so yeah, I'm kind of flipping out. I have no idea how my hair looked when I was actually running because I finally got it I took my time. I didn't rip my hair out.
Well, that's good.
I took my time. I got it untangled and I reclipped my hair. And but I was just laughing at myself. I'm like, Margaret, stop panicking. You're okay.
Right.
You
And
just
it's one of those little things where if you were with Dot or Jinx, you'd be like, oh man, whatever. And you'd be like, yeah, whatever, my hair clips, and then you'd take your time and fix it. But when it's the first trial, the first time you're ever doing something, and it's that one little thing, you're like, oh my God,
and
oh my gosh.
I just felt the temperature in my body rise.
Right, right.
I just went like, oh my gosh, don't get a hot flash too.
Oh dear. Oh no.
All right. So I said I did when the week prior, I did kind of go back and forth about whether or not to FEO or to go for it.
Yeah, we had this talk
Yeah, I wasn't
even.
quite sure. You were kind of encouraging me to just go for it. And fortunately, my logical side kicked in and I said,
Well, now
I,
wait a minute. I have. Well, I had new intel when you told me that you weren't totally satisfied with his contacts. Then I was like, okay, I wanted to defend my honor real quick there. I'm not telling you to.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Now
Whatever.
wait a minute.
Whatever. Whatever. Anyway, my logical side kicked in and I said, no, you're not ready to trial.
Yeah.
It's certainly not in time to beat. And yes, I could have done fast. I could have avoided the A frame, but my plan was when I entered this trial, my plan was to FEO, and I
Yeah.
wanted to go ahead and stick with that plan. I had specific goals in mind, and I'm glad that I did that. I'm really glad I FEO'd, and I plan on FEOing next weekend too. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
All of it, or
no,
not all of it? But I
no,
mean,
because
sorry.
you're only allowed to FEO really in time to beat and fast.
Oh, really?
So
Okay. I did
yeah,
not know that.
so I'll do time to beat fast, and again novice jumpers with weaves. I also probably shouldn't have done this, but I entered him in premier jumpers.
Oh, please don't F him for that. Wouldn't it be so fun if he does well?
You're not
Imagine if he
allowed to
does
FEO,
well.
but I very much will bring him back to me, get him back into heel, and start the sequence again when things because it's not gonna. He's not gonna qualify in.
That kind of attitude will not get you into EO tryouts, okay? I need you
Listen,
to be serious
I have
about
yet
this.
to put him around a premier style course for
It's okay. I have. He'll be
16,
fine.
16, 18 obstacles. So he knows all the skills, or for the most part, I think I've trained all the skills. And so we will definitely give it a good go, but I plan on breaking it into chunks, right? Like do 1 through 5, bring them back into heel, do 6 through 9, bring them back into heel, do 9 through whatever. So that's my plan for Premier.
Uh-huh.
And if that goes sideways, where's your leash, buddy? Let's go get a tug. I won't do that for another 6 months.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
Right. So yeah, no, I'm definitely going to be pushing him on Premier. I'm going to be pushing myself, right? So the handling will definitely be outside of my scope with his amount of speed. And we just haven't learned how to drive together, right? So driving a new dog, putting them in their first 6 months of agility trials is literally learning how you guys work together under pressure, under speed, the amount of cues that you need, the amount of information that he needs early, the amount of experience he has at seeking out obstacles that are slightly off his path. Um, so there's a learning curve for sure. Even for the most skilled of dogs at a young age, they're still learning how to drive them in a trial environment. So that is still, we're still working on that. All right, what else?
Tell us about your novice run.
Oh, well, my novice run, he did great.
Yeah,
he went
he
wide.
cued.
He runs wide. So I learned that he runs wide, which he's done that a handful of times in practice, but for the most part, we have a much smaller arena. And so this 100 by 100, we run in 60 by 80, I think. So those much bigger ability to run outs happened. I cued him late on the turn. So he landed and already took a stride before I even told him to turn. So the ability for him to grab the jump was really out of his wheelhouse for his age and his experience. Even a really good skilled dog, the delay of my verbal was so off that even a really skilled dog would have struggled to get the jump. But he came back very nicely. That set me up so I had to stay with him then on that jump, right? Just because I had to reset him. And that put me behind for the far jump. And so that jump, I saw that I was off almost immediately. And I really pushed as hard as I could. And then I sent him out sideways and he's like, okay. And he went out and he grabbed the jump, but it was such a jump that he was in such bad positioning that I would not have been surprised if he knocked the bar because it was so difficult of an angle and ascend. But he grabbed it. He grabbed it. He didn't knock the bar. His jump training. Okay, there was another one of my goals is what are his bars look like at speed? And because he was a bar knocker early on, right?
He's always been a bar knocker.
Right up until 10 months when I started his jump training, he was bar, 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 bar. And by golly, the jump training has been phenomenal.
It's been brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did not only Linda Mecklenburg's jump training, I did some Susan Sallow. I started following Kim Collins. She has some brilliant, brilliant stuff out there. And so just put all of that into play, started training all of that, not only at 12 inches, but 14, and then finally at 16. And absolutely brilliant jump training. He didn't knock one bar all week on all 3 runs. And he hasn't been knocking bars for the most part in practice, right? Every once in a while, we worked a really tough slice blind cross that I was on the landing side of the slice blind cross, and that took him a couple rounds.
And there's a difference between him just not caring about the bars being knocked, which is what was happening prior, and then him maybe, I'm not saying that you're a bad handler, but perhaps maybe he was just confused or he had information too late, and that's not his fault if he knocks a bar. Right. So I think there's also a difference between that, which you're aware of, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, learning new sequences with my handling and figuring each other out. Definitely, those are the handling errors, the timing, him learning the timing, and just learning that I will get out of your way. Yeah. So once he understood it, then the bar stopped coming down. So that's just a training issue, right? Not a bar issue. Yeah, really, really pleased with this.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been a dog that we've had a few new discoveries with, or a few new obstacles for us personally. So like the environmental contrast thing, as well as bar knocking. I don't think we've ever had a dog that we struggle with bar knocking. So it's been really interesting to see that progression of, okay, hey, this training works, and I'm glad it works.
Yeah, it worked on him anyway. Yeah.
Or yeah.
Yeah, handled all the spread jumps.
Oh yeah, how was the broad jump?
Oh, he didn't have the broad jump because that's in
Really? Not in novice? Oh, I thought it was in
not in
novice jumpers too. Okay, yeah, okay. Well, good
no,
luck with that.
but he's doing fine on the broad jump in practice.
Okay.
Doing just fine. But yeah, handled the double, handled the triple. Right, we had a triple. So,
Probably. They like them at the end, don't they?
all right, so let me just talk a little bit about the cell phone effect.
Yes.
All right, so I have a thing that I call the cell phone effect, and it works great for getting your dog to drink water and getting your dog to potty.
Yeah.
And let me just say that all of you who have not pottied your dogs on leash, start training it because it's only a training issue. It's not
Oh,
that your
it's
dog
such a good
won't,
skill to have.
it's not that your dog won't learn how to do it. It's just you haven't been doing it, and therefore they're more likely to hold on to it until you start training it. And for those that are struggling, give the dog a 10 to 20-foot long line so that they can be away from you in the beginning. Do it first thing in the morning, right after a meal, so that they're most likely to potty within 20 minutes of a meal. Do not give them access to outside until you've tried it on leash. And
Yeah.
so here's the cell phone effect. When we go on our cell phones and we disengage from our dogs, we disconnect from our dogs, then and only then are some dogs willing to go potty and water.
Yeah.
So if you want your dog to poop, get on your phone.
Yeah.
If you want your dog to potty, get on your phone.
Well, and it's because when you're looking, when you're watching them, you're engaging with them, right? Because dogs don't speak English. And so that's the only way that you're really only able to communicate with a dog is by watching them, right? If you're watching them, they're like, oh, well, you're engaging, so I'll watch you back. What do you want to do? Let's go run.
Yeah, and
So
and more importantly, are you going to put your hand in that treat pouch and pull one out?
exactly. Yeah.
Pull a
Yeah.
treat out?
Yeah.
Are you going to reach in your back pocket and give me that tug toy?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's what they care about. They don't necessarily want to hang out with you. They want to know, is there more in it for them? And when
Exactly.
they finally figure out that there's nothing in it for them, then they're willing to disengage with you as well and potty or drink. So I say hover near the water, make sure they have enough leash that the leash is not tight, and let them disengage from you, you disengage from them. Now, that doesn't mean that you stop looking at your dog, right? There's peripheral vision. We can use,
Yeah, you can peek over the cell phone.
yeah, peek over the side of the cell phone and watch that they're drinking. And then once they're done drinking, reward them. Tell them,
Yeah.
yeah, good drink. And I even give a cookie after drinking.
Yeah.
And once you get drinking happening in your presence, then I start to name it, right?
Yeah.
Get some water, drink, drink. And then I go
Yeah.
on my
Drink,
cell
drink.
phone. Get some water, drink, drink, whatever I say. And then I go on my cell phone, right? So that's the cell phone effect. The other thing for puttying is um, not, I do a very methodical go potty cue. So it's just very mild, go potty, go potty. And I walk about a 15-foot strip of grass back and forth and very, very slowly. I let the dog lead me. I do not hold the leash tight. So I will go at their pace, but I will only give them 15 feet. So as soon as they 15, maybe 20 feet. So as soon as they hit the end of my 20 foot, I don't like turn around and I tell them to come back and start potting the other direction. And I'll do that on a 10-foot leash. I'll do that on a 20-foot leash, as you're only allowed this amount of space to potty. But with my border collie, the very, very first time that he pottied on leash, he was literally 15 feet into the bushes away from me, but he was
Yeah.
on leash, right? And so he did not want to be near me at all for a potty. Even today, he still doesn't, his preference is to go far away, even though he will poop on leash at 6 feet, right? But if he has a choice, he'll go out even further. He likes his privacy. So teaching him to potty on leash took about 6 months before it was on a 6 foot leash. But
Yeah.
every day I took him out on leash, first a 20 foot, then a 15 foot, then a 10 foot, and eventually he would potty for me on leash. So and then he would potty on cue. So don't quit trying, because learning to potty and drink at a trial is so stinking important.
Yeah, it is.
And
It's taxing for a dog, and so you kind of have to. It's like telling a toddler, hey, let's drink, let's go to the bathroom, because they won't do it for themselves, because it's a very high stress, high excitement environment.
right, and then the second they are off leash, they're like, woohoo, finally I get to potty.
Right.
And it's in the ring.
Exactly. Whoops.
Oh. So yeah, potty on leash, potty on cue. I have two different cues. I have a wee cue and I have a poop cue.
If you can, I'd do it by yourself as well. I mean, obviously, if you have family members, I meant without any other dogs. So like Jinx and Eli have a tendency to play with each other, and Jinx is like, "Hey, man, I have to go to the bathroom," and Eli's like, "I don't care. Let's bite each other's necks." And so I think if you do one dog at a time, don't meet up with your friend. Don't take your other dog out to the bathroom as well. I think one dog per potty walk is the way to go.
Yeah, however, so let's say that you
Unless they mark each other's spots, and then that's good.
exactly. So take one dog out that does potty readily, and
Yeah, that's a good word.
and then take your dog that is a known marker right back to that same spot, and they're likely
Yeah.
to mark it. So that is a very good point. Yeah, I mean, if they don't play on leash, then it's fine, but keep them separate so that they're not trying to talk to each other, right? Unless they
Yeah.
know how to potty together. Yeah, so that's it.
Cool.
I wanted to say one thing about our podcast. So our podcast has been picked up by advertisers.
Oh.
It took a year, but uh,
4 years.
so I'm happy that we might make a couple of pennies. It literally is going to be pennies.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not getting any of this money, actually,
but
interestingly enough.
but the other no, that's because we haven't gotten anything yet. But
Oh.
it's starting to pick up. And yes, you will get some money off of this
Ooh,
once
50
I pay
cents.
for our podcast fees. Anyway, so I apologize though for the advertising, but I am trying to pay for the platform that sponsors, or that we have to buy this platform to actually host our podcasts and spit them out to all the other podcast platforms. And so I know that the advertisements are annoying, and I'm trying to figure out how to only do one per show. I had 3 ads the other day on one that I listened to of us. So one at the beginning and then 2 in the middle, and that really annoyed me. But what I also learned is that I can fast forward them. So I have a plus 30 seconds or plus 15 seconds button on the platform that I listen to podcasts on. And so I just hit go forward 30 seconds and it did. So it skipped right through the advertisement. So there's a little hint, but don't tell the advertisement. So anyway, I apologize, but I also would love to not lose money making a podcast, and so at least break even, because there's no money in this for us so far.
No, we just like hearing ourselves yap at each other.
Well, I kind of like, yeah, I like listening you yap at me, but I like helping people. So
Yeah, it's been fun
and just document our experience together.
for sure.
All right, is that everything?
I think so.
You want to know how Eli did? As far
Oh,
as
shall we? Yeah, do a little humble brag for us.
did he qualify?
Yes, he did.
He did qualify.
And he
In,
was
nov- in
first
novice
place.
in novice jumpers, he qualified.
He was first place with a substantial lead into first place, which I was quite excited about.
Well, a good chunk of his class NQ'd. I think there are only 2 dogs.
It was a hard course, his novice course. I was watching that. I was like, man, novice course has gotten a lot harder since I've been doing it.
I didn't think it was hard.
Well, I mean, it wasn't.
I thought it was totally doable.
Okay, here I'll rephrase. I think that the gap between novice and open is closing.
Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like I always remember that the novice to open gap was always quite large, and a lot of people fell through. And I think that they're trying to design courses to where that doesn't happen as much.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I do think that novice courses are getting harder. And I think that they are getting closer to open. And I think that in general, courses are starting to get harder.
Oh, 100%.
More technical stuff is being asked of the handler and the dog, which I think is also why they brought in the act to help buffer that. Right. So now the act is very simple. One side change, usually at the table. And so then, yeah, novice courses are getting harder. But I thought it was totally doable. I thought
100%.
I thought that a few more dogs should have qualified. But so yeah, only 2 dogs qualified in our heights. So yeah. And
Cool.
you know what though? I also think that we both lost points. So the 2 qualifying runs, I think we both lost points for very, very similar problems. In that the dogs ran wide, and I think that the other dog caught the visual of the judge and tracked out, what was paying attention to the handler, but because of the judge caught their eye, and which is very possible what happened with Eli as well, is that the dog got caught by the judge. And so like when you're driving a car and you look to the side at pedestrians, you'll drift to the side towards the
yeah.
You did that? Do you remember doing that?
I vividly remember doing it. It was the first time I ever drove the Beetle, and I was so nervous.
But
I had never driven a
instructor.
stick shift car. I'd never driven a stick shift car on a road before.
Yeah,
and I remember there's a guy walking down the bridge in Duval, and I was like, nobody ever walks on this bridge. And I was looking at him, and I drifted my little tin can of a car straight over.
Yeah. So dogs do the exact same thing when they're looking at something, they drift in that direction. So I think that the judge caught the eye of both of our dogs, and they drifted off. I think Eli came back a little bit faster. I think maybe they came back similarly. Anyway, and then I think we were off one other jump. I think I got caught on the first jump to the weave poles, and the other dog got caught on the second jump to the weave poles. Yeah, but we both had scores of 90, so we both lost 5 points on each refusal. I'd like to say a thank you to those that supported us in our journey here, and also to my students who videotaped our run. That was really nice. And
yeah, I'm really proud of you guys.
I hope I didn't have too much game face.
That's okay.
Before and after my run, paying attention to Eli.
You're like, I'm having such a good time, and you're like completely
stone faced.
I'm proud of you guys.
Wait, one more thing that I did.
I was being sentimental.
Oh, what did you say?
Oh, never. No. Continuing.
Okay, so one more thing that I did is, because of my anxiety, because I was anxious, I listened to our podcast about stress on the way up.
Oh, look at you.
And it really, really helped me, Emma. I listened to my own advice. I listened to your advice, and it really, really helped me. And it made me feel like, okay, everything's going to be okay, regardless of how the day actually goes.
Yeah.
Right. And that was really good. And
yeah.
It was fun seeing all my students, those that are still with me and those that have moved on to other trainers. It was just a great day. It was great to be back in the trialing experience.
Yeah. It's cool to have a young dog. It's always fun to have, the possibilities are endless, right?
Yeah.
It's a new chapter. I'm really excited to see where the boy will go. Because you've put a ton of work into that dog. I don't think you've ever put as much work into a dog as you have for him. And of course, that's partly because you have so much research that you've been doing, right? But it's also because I think that you just wanted to have a good agility dog, and you have done everything in your power to make a good agility dog. And I'm glad that it has panned out, or so far it seems like it has.
Yeah, certainly his first year and a bit has been great. I've done a lot of experimenting with him. That is,
Yeah, he's a good dog to do that with, I think.
but he's very, very resilient in that fact, and
Yeah,
I'm so pleased with how he tries stuff for me, and then some things have worked great. Some things have worked great. Other things not so much. So, but he's been really good to try it anyway. Show me what it does to a dog like him, and then I'll try something else. I'll go back. Yeah, he's been a great, great, great dog. And I've been experimenting with him mostly to see, can I help my students learn how to train by themselves with minimal help from me, right?
yeah,
Can they do homework by themselves? Can I help them do homework by themselves? Can I help them transfer to other practice areas by themselves with, and the two obstacles that I've been focused on the most is the teeter and the weeples. So
yeah. Those are hard.
yeah, I did the most experimenting with those, but I have done a lot of experimenting with distance, with commitment, and so just trying to utilize what I've learned from Eli, how he responds to my training, can I transfer that to my handlers? And some of it's very nuanced, so I don't think that it's for every single handler, but for those handlers that want it, I think that I have a new set of skills to offer them if they want it, right?
Hmm.
But it's in the weeds, it's nitty gritty, it's nuanced,
Bit nerdy.
it's a lot nerdy, a lot nerdy. Yeah, so I've learned a ton, and the trial experience was exactly a learning experience for him, a learning experience for me, a little fact finding mission, but I think it went well.
Good.
So that's all I have.
Cool.
So are we done?
I think so.
Shall we say goodbye?
Yeah. Okay. I'll say goodbye.
I love you.
Goodbye. Oh, I love you too.
Happy training.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what was the sentimental thing you were saying?
Oh, I already said it. I was like, it's always really scary to go into a trial, and I think that I don't think you admit this, but I know you. I think you really, really, really want to do well for your students. Um, and it's cool that it kind of panned out, that it's going well so far. And I'm not saying that if Eli wasn't a good dog, that it'd be like, oh my gosh, we wouldn't panic. But it's cool. It's cool to have a dog, uh, to walk into a trial with a dog where you're like, yeah, okay, this could be our day.
Yeah, I agree. It was absolutely fabulous, actually.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not gonna
yeah.
lie. I
Did
love,
you got that from Dot? I'm sure.
well, he's exactly the dog that I dreamed of.
Yeah,
He's exactly the dog that I researched. He's exactly the dog that I hope
yeah.
drive that I wanted for agility.
I think that's what I've been trying to get at, that I haven't really been good at articulating, is that you have put so much work into this dog, and I would have been so sad. And we would have gone back to the drawing board and we would have fixed it. But if you put all this work in and he just completely crumbled and he's like, nope, I don't like this. I want to go home. And that's
I
really
would have,
heartbreaking.
I
And
would,
we would have been okay. We would have, fixed it, or we would have loved him anyway, of course. But it's cool that he was like, yeah, okay, let's go. Like, it's cool that he was comfortable enough in a trial to bite your face. That's
he
pretty
didn't
good.
bite my face, Emma. He did not bite my face. He muzzle punched.
Well,
There's a big difference.
at least he wasn't nervous about the whole thing.
No, he was not. He was excited. He was all in. Yeah, it was good.
Cool.
All right.
Okay.
I love you.
Love you.
Happy training. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Woof woof.
Nice job. Nice job, mother.
Say woof woof.
Oh, woof woof.